Happy Pokémon Day. It's the LP Podcast. Happy Tuesday. It's the day of the week where I do more talking than playing of Nintendo games, but Nintendo's the topic all the same. Specifically, Pokemon is the topic. If you're not familiar, today is the anniversary of Red and Green releasing in Japan. Goodness gracious, at this point, close to 500 years ago. I was there, Gandalf. No, not really, but we are getting old, and so is the Pokemon franchise. Today, much like any other year, Pokemon, the company that is, had a presentation where they show off many things that they are working on, things that are to be released in the near and far future, and that is predominantly what we're going to talk about today, because there is a decent amount of stuff to get excited about. Now, I don't consider myself the biggest Pokemon fanboy. I do love the IP, and I've played a number of the games, but I haven't played all of them, right? And I know there are some Pokemon diehard fans that are, very much out there. They're in the competitive scene. They're playing every game. They're researching. They're collecting all of the cards and the plushies and the games, and oh my. And more power to them. I think that's awesome. I unfortunately don't have the time or the money to do it. Either which way, I digress. Let's continue on and talk about what happened. So the biggest news of the day for myself personally, and probably everyone else, was the announcement for the new Pokemon Legends game. It is Pokemon Legends Z-A, Z-Alpha, Z-A. It's probably Z-A, Z-Alpha, something like that. And that's exciting, right? The Pokemon Legends games are, well, I guess there's only one of them right now. This is being the second in line. But that style of play quickly grew into my favorite, right? When I was playing the first one here at this point, goodness gracious, just a couple years ago. I really enjoy the gameplay loop of it. I know that some people had some qualms, so I'm curious to see how the company fields those criticisms and builds that out into this final product, right? Because it's got a later release date. This wasn't something that was announced today to be released anytime soon. I suppose in terms of game development, I should clarify, 2025 was the tentative release date. Nothing specific beyond that. No month, no quarter, no nothing like that. So we'll see. We'll see. There's still yet time, obviously, for them to continue to work on it. And I'm very curious to see, as the year gets closer, if we get to perhaps Pokemon Day 2025 and we don't have it yet. We probably won't, in my opinion. We'll probably go to Pokemon Day 2025 and get a full-fledged gameplay trailer, if it in fact is ready, or news of a delay. Which, to be honest with you, I don't think would be a terrible thing. I know that some people had some qualms with Scarlet and Violet, saying that they felt rushed in certain aspects. So, you know what Miyamoto says? A rushed game is always bad, but a delayed game is eventually good. So hopefully they take that to heart and we get a great product as a result. So that's what I'm most excited about. Of course, feel free to let me know what you're most excited about, because my opinion, again, not the either which way. Moving on. Pokemon Legends, correct. Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. This was an interesting one when it was unveiled. So if you didn't watch the presentation, essentially what this is virtual trading cards. Yep, exactly what it sounds like. And you will have to pay for them, of course, but you do get 2 free. So I guess, that's obviously just the hook to get you to buy into it, right? Here's the freebie. It's almost like a drug dealer or something. Here's your little baggie. You come back to me when you want some more. Some more Pokemon cards, if you're hooked. Which, of course, many people will find themselves quite hooked on it. I myself probably won't. I mentioned this during the presentation itself, but when it comes to collecting things, specifically cards, the physical aspect of it is what is most important to me, right? I don't know. I enjoy being able to touch, to hold, to see these things. And as far as just anything, I'm a big fan of just physical media collecting in general. I have a ton of VHS tapes. It's a space thing, sure, but I whatever. I don't mean to drag too far down this rabbit hole or hate too hard on the Pokemon trading card game Pocket. Some people undoubtedly are going to be very excited by it. And hey, if that's you, awesome. I think that's great. Just not for me. Not my sort of thing. Moving on, Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, a series of 7-star Terra Raid battles coming to them in celebration of Pokemon Day. You'll be able to face off against Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise, each of which has the mightiest mark for a chance to add these powerful Pokemon to your team. The first round of this raid event series begins today, February 27th at 4 p.m. Pacific Time. You can check the Presents video for the full schedule. So this doesn't actually apply to me all that much because I did not play Scarlet and Violet. But hey, if you're into that, look at that. There you go. You get to fight some of the Gen 1ers. How about that? Scarlet and Violet, I still do mean to play them. I still do mean to. I just haven't got around to it. Pokemon Go and Pokemon Horizon, the series. Starting on March 5th, 2024, a special Pokemon Horizons, the series, collaboration is coming to Pokemon Go. Pikachu wearing Cap's hat will make its debut during this event, and it will even know an attack new to Pokemon Go, titled Volt Tackle. So, again, not something I've played in a while. I did play a fair amount of Pokemon Go when it was first unveiled, and I'll talk more about this in a few moments, but I just don't download apps and stuff to my phone. I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old man, but I take a video and photos and utilize some social medias on my phone. I don't know. I use up so much space just with like the vlog and stuff. So yeah, I haven't had the opportunity. But moving on, Pokemon Masters EX celebrating 4.5 years. I wish I celebrated half birthdays with the arrival of new sync pairs. Gita and Glamora and Silver and Tyranitar in their featured sync pair scout, as well as the arrival of master sync pair Signa Suit, Gladion, and Magearna. I may be butchering some of these because, again, not an expert, but it's fine. So, it looks like an in-game event is currently running as a result of this, where you can add Riley and Lucario to your team. Lucario. There's also a special login gift of 3,000 no-cost gems. So, hey, there you go for all the Pokemon Masters EX players. Get you some. Pokemon Unite also seeing some love here. More Pokemon coming to Pokemon Unite, a special event. Perfect. So, it's nice that this Pokemon Day thing sort of coincides with a little bit of something for everyone, right? We started off with, obviously, the new game, which appeals probably to the broadest set of consumers. But then each one of these different other games or other things, I suppose they're not all games. Maybe they are. I guess the card game is a game. But you know what I'm saying, right? These different subsectors appealing to everyone for the most part, at least a little bit. And then Pokemon Sleep. My wife, Serena, is a huge Pokemon sleeper. Truth be told, she's just an expert sleeper, really. But don't tell her I said that. No, she uses Pokemon Sleep religiously, daily. Always, she's not missing a meal with Snorlax. She is always on top of it. So I'd have to trust that she's going to be taking advantage of the legendary Pokemon arriving in March 2024. Raikou specifically, to be followed up by their 2 companions at an undisclosed later date. There's also a login bonus where players can collect a gift of Poke Biscuits and diamonds. Ooh, I'd love myself a Poke Biscuit right now. That sounds quite nice. Delicious. Is it made of Pokemon or is it like a dog treat? I don't know. I suppose either which way. Moving on, Pokemon Cafe Remix. Again, another mobile game, right? The always charming Pokemon Cafe Remix now allows you to collect Gimmighoul coins by completing certain puzzles. There's also new outfits available for several of the Pokemon. Very good. Very good, very good. Well, look at that. So, I think that wraps it up. It was a short presentation. It was 13 minutes in length as opposed to the 20-ish, 25-ish of its predecessors. But several things we can take away from this. Number one, they being the company Pokemon, didn't necessarily focus too hard on the criticisms around the first Pokemon Legends game. I mean, well, I guess I should clarify. They probably did, right? They're probably working on improving it. But when I say the criticisms, I mean there was a non-zero amount of people who weren't necessarily a fan of the gameplay loop itself. But then again, there was a lot of us, myself included, who were huge fans of the gameplay loop and thought that that was a great direction for Pokemon to take the franchise. So either which way, whether or not that's going to be, you know, the focus going forward or just like a side thing, I think it's great that we're getting more Pokemon Legends. I really do. I will absolutely be maybe not first in line, but like maybe like the 15th person at my local GameStar to go pick that up when it does release. When it does release in 2025. Who knows? That could be early 25. That could be, you know, the very last day. Or it could get pushed. So either which way, I guess we'll see. What we do know about the Pokemon Legends games is that they are large, right? So it could take time. And you know what else happens in 2025? Allegedly, that kind of could coincide with this, and I'm kind of curious to see how it all works out, is the release of Nintendo's next console, right? It wouldn't be an LP podcast if we didn't talk a little bit about the latest and greatest around Nintendo Switch's next successor. And of course, there's really nothing concrete yet. But again, people are starting to really push out that, yeah, it could be as early as March 2025. Definitely not going to be 2024. While there were some rumors and whispers that, ooh, could be later 2024, by now all those have died out. That is just not happening. But 2025 is getting a lot of attention here. Even this article saying as early as March 2025, which I believe I think that was the same month of the year that the Switch released in. Correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously in 2017, so 8 years prior. But what I was saying about the Pokemon Legends game, Z-A, Z-Alpha, Z-A, that releasing in 2025, could that be a multi-platform release? Because if that release is just for the Switch, and the Switch gets a successor potentially before Pokemon Legends Z-A comes out, that'd be very interesting to see. They have to do a cross-platform, right? Either that or they have to be specifically developing it for the successor. Obviously, Pokemon is their own company that is a subsidiary of Nintendo, though, so they are going to get that sort of information, that sort of confidential information, probably a lot earlier than you or I. So if Nintendo's like, hey, you guys won't be ready, this is this next console is going to be here by the time your game's here, you might be considering working it out how it's going to fit on there. But at the same time, that next console is going to be so new to the market that it's not going to have as much of an install base as the Nintendo Switch, right? The Nintendo Switch is everywhere. Okay, I think I saw a Nintendo Switch at the friggin' Chili's the other day. Okay, like this Nintendo Switch is galore. So it would be smart to do the cross-platform as opposed to just focusing on the new one. That way the Pokemon game can get into the hands of the most people possible, right? In an effort to make the most money, they want to sell the most copies. The only thing I worry about, though, is that might limit the game in some capacity. You know what I'm saying? Because if the game is releasing at a similar time as the next-gen console, but also still structuring the game itself in a way that fits for the prior console, you're not taking advantage of whatever upgrades there are, hardware speaking, for the next I don't know. Ultimately, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna enjoy it, and I never really care about power anyways, so I don't necessarily know why I'm harping on, but it'll be interesting to see, to say the least. Very interesting to see. And you know what else was interesting? And I mean, this was like a week ago exactly, almost. We had a Nintendo Partner Showcase. And Nintendo Partner Showcases, I streamed the whole thing. You can find it on the channel inside the Nintendo Directs playlist. I always cover all the Nintendo Directs, Pokemon Presents, stuff like that. And it was fine. It was fine. There's some interesting stuff for certain, Epic Mickey, Penny, the platformer, though there were some bugs that people have been talking about. And a number of other things. Unicorn Overlord looked interesting to me. But probably the most interesting thing of all didn't even happen for us. You probably know what I'm talking about. That is Mother 3 getting put on NSO in Japan only. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Mother 3 doesn't actually have an English localization, so it wouldn't really be a whole great idea to put it on, the American or European NSO if it's not going to be in a language that people understand. But still, still, the continued deprivation of the Western market for this beloved RPG. Now, there is a fan translation out there, and it's great. I encourage you to check it out. I did a Let's Play of it a year ago, 2 years ago, and it's amazing. It's wonderful, and that's the only reason why I know that it's a great game and that they should localize it, because many people need to play it. At this point now, the game's been out for almost 20 years. It came out in 2006 for the Game Boy Advance in Japan, so I don't know. We could be screaming into the void, essentially. This could be a fool's errand begging them for this, but they're doing stuff with it, clearly, right? They're putting it onto NSO in Japan. They're making plushies for it. Shigesato Itoi, the man behind the franchise, essentially, says here, you know, hey, talk to Nintendo. It's out of my hands to get it localized. It's out of my hands. So, I don't know. Reggie Fils-Aimé said similar things when he was president of Nintendo of America, so nobody seems to want to take ownership of making this happen. So it may just be important to the fans and the fans alone. So I don't know. Either which way, very interesting. I will say this, though. The Nintendo Partner Direct did have one relatively interesting thing for the Western market that I did kind of gloss over and I should touch on. It was the addition of several more rare titles to NSO. Now, none of the rare titles were particularly exciting to myself, you know, but it does sort of pave the way for that relationship to hopefully continue to bring us things that I would be excited about. You know, I'm thinking Banjo-Tooie, right? Diddy Kong Racing, Donkey Kong 64, to NSO. I think those would be great ideas. And what's more, I would hope, and this, I think, grows ever more likely given Microsoft's direction, I would hope that it helps open the door for more collaborative projects, not on porting over old games, but working on new games. I know we all pine for a Banjo 3, and it might be water under the bridge now, but a rare Nintendo platformer would be cool. It really would. I know Nintendo and Rare have done stuff, and they haven't like completely stopped doing stuff since Rare was acquired by Microsoft, but it's never been the same. You know what I'm saying? So if relations can continue to open up, if Microsoft can sort of continue to move towards less exclusivity on their part, I think that good things can happen. Of course, no Mother 3, but what can we do, right? What can we do? Either which way, that's it for today. Relatively light. It's a Pokemon Day. I hope you celebrate in any way you see fit, whether you're decorating the Pokemon tree, eating a roast Pikachu, or just wearing a Pikachu sweater. I hope it's great for you. In fact, I hope it's never been better. I'm LP, your host. I do this every Tuesday at 8 p.m., and I hope that I see you again next time.